Hello, everybody. Welcome to Looking Beyond the Stream. I'm Gamer Dad, and I'm joined with my co-host, Old Man Geras. How are you doing, Geras?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Gamer Dad?
Doing pretty good. It's been a fun little 2 weeks since we last recorded.
It
Almost two
has
weeks, I
been. A
guess.
lot has
Yeah.
gone on.
Yeah. A lot has changed. A lot of unfortunate current events, but a lot of exciting personal events. Just celebrated a birthday with the family, and so I'm encroaching upon old man status, getting there.
Do they have a special little card that they'll send you for your state once you hit that magical half-century mark?
Sir, I was getting AARP card offers at 25. I don't know why. They think the name Joe is an old man name, but I actually called them when I was in my 20s. I called them. I said, I'm not like 60, right? They said, well, actually, you can join at any age. I said, I don't want to join at any age. I don't.
They're more than happy to take your annual fee.
Yeah. It's just same way with AAA, right?
Exactly.
Although at my age, AAA is significantly more usable each year.
We have telephones with GPS. I wouldn't know what to do with AAA.
I've actually used them before. I had car trouble once, and they came out, and I couldn't get anybody to come give me a jump. I was having battery trouble on the road, so they came out and jumped the car, and I immediately went to like the closest AutoZone or whatchamacallit places, and got a new battery in the car. So it's worth it. Not AARP yet though. Not at all.
Yeah, I just go with my insurance has roadside assistance. I'm like, that's good enough. If I have to sit on the road for half an hour,
Oh,
doesn't
nice.
matter. I'm just going to sit there.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I don't really think we benefit from the discounts that AAA gives us much anymore. So, yeah, I will have to look into my insurance. I'll make a note to self.
Yeah, a lot of them have that included along with like insurance for your automobile glass. So if there's a crack, they'll come in and they'll replace it or they'll
Yeah.
patch it for free and
Yeah.
all included. They don't tell you about that.
Well, I am sure we could go on for forever about car stuff. We could pick any topic, and you and I can just banter. I'm sure, but that is not what we're here for. Why don't you tell us what you've been working on over the last week or two since we last recorded?
Absolutely. Well, it's been really interesting here in the Geras household. I'll start with COVID finally hit the house. So in 2 weeks, everything got turned over of what I wanted to do versus what I did do, which means because of isolation, to be careful, a lot more video games, a lot more video games than what I wanted to do. But I actually did get to do a little miniature hobby prep, which is
Really?
amazing. And just wait, Gamer Dad, when I get to that and tell you, you're going to be like, wait, what? Shame on you, but congratulations. So let's see, video game wise.
You're gonna leave me in suspense.
I am, because I have that right at the end. I purposely put that at the end of my list of what I want to talk about in this section. I made a list because that's how I am. And they're alphabetical even.
Are you kidding? That's fantastic.
So, video game wise, we start with the letter D, Dorf Romantic. This game came across about 2 weeks ago. And I was like, it looks interesting. The publisher gave me a key. And I was like, all right, let me give it a try. And if you've ever played the board game Carcassonne, it is Carcassonne, except better, which is hard to do with Carcassonne, but it is. And it works great. I have spent so many hours into that game. Fantastic game, available on Steam. Very relaxing, very chill. No multiplayer. It's all single player. So I've done a lot with that. And I'm going to skip Idle Champions because I'm going to let you talk about that. Because I think
I might be the expert of the two of us currently.
Yeah, you're going to be the expert on that just by you telling me earlier, hey, we have to talk about number 12 and what we're going to do because this one's really good. Yeah, this is all you. All you on that. Uh, the next game is called Little Witch in the Woods, which is, don't let the title fool you. It's Stardew Valley, except you're a witch and you get to make potions. There is a crafting engine built into it. And it's fantastic. It we played it once. I normally stream 3 hours a day. This went about 4.5 hours. And then the next night we did it again. And the next night we did it again. It's a great game. If you like Stardew Valley, you need to look at this game.
Let me just put some emphasis on this, because I have not heard of the game nor have I seen it, but the fact that you have streamed one game not called No Man's Sky 3 consecutive nights is a huge testament to your appreciation of the game. So let it be so Geras, and we'll talk about this in our main topic later, but Geras loves to be what's called a variety streamer, not tied to a single game, although we all know him as the No Man's Sky guru kind of thing. But when you see Geras break his little rule of mixing up games and take a game multiple nights, you know it's a good game.
It is. I'll try any game one time, usually. This broke it. You're absolutely correct. Which actually goes to my next game after the letter L, No Man's Sky. What a surprise. Brand new expedition came out for No Man's Sky 3 days ago, which are 6-week special event activities that we have there. And I hit it hard. So the last 3 days, I've been playing No Man's Sky straight through. Really enjoying it. Chat's really had a good time. It's a little more difficult than what people are used to because they added the permadeath into this session, which they haven't done before. They've done normal playing. But this event is about permadeath, which is all I ever play. So for me, it's really easy because they lifted some of my own restrictions, but a lot of people are struggling because of that difficulty on that. And then the final game that I've played, video game at least, has been Path of Exile, which is I've played it in the past. I took a brief break from it, about a month. New event just started on there. I had to go back into it and give that a try.
That's one of those Diablo-style dungeon crawls, right? It's like that third-person perspective.
It absolutely, except that it's completely free, 100% free. The skill tree is the largest I've seen of any game. Okay. There are thousands of buffs and skills that you can apply to yourself, which is fantastic. Completely free to play. They make their money on cosmetics. They sell cosmetics like crazy, and they're actually pretty cheap, but they look great.
Nice.
I'm even thinking about buying a cosmetic. I never buy cosmetics, but it looks fantastic and I want to support the publisher. So those are the video games. The other two, I've done 3 other things really. We had a special D&D session that a number of streamers got together and did online. That was this past Thursday. So there were 6 of us, 6 streamers on there playing D&D together, each of us streaming it. And it was absolutely incredible. We do it once a month, typically the final Thursday of every month. We're doing it. What we do a little bit different than other people is one of the streamers is a guest streamer. So every month we have somebody new playing the exact same character. And the way that we get around it is that person suffers from amnesia, and all they remember is what the person who played them the prior month wrote down in a notebook.
Wow.
So when we start playing, they get, the DM has it. We don't get to see it at all. They read notes that they received from the prior person that played that character. That's all they know, while the rest of us know everything.
That is fantastic. When does that occur? When does that normally happen?
It'll be the final Thursday of every month. We will be doing it. It begins at 9 p.m. Central Time.
If you ever are looking for other people to take on an amnesia character, you have my attention, sir.
Well, I will be more than happy to introduce you over to the host who is setting it all up.
Absolutely.
Let me let me write a note. I will say the final aspect. So there are two parts to this. We do D&D for about 3 hours, and then we end at a certain point. But then the host actually takes the next hour to interview you, the guest streamer who played that character,
Hmm.
because it's about introducing you to the community. So
Oh,
they get to
nice.
see you in action playing a game and interacting with other people, and then they get to actually talk to you.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
I'm making a note to introduce you to him. All right. And then the only other two things, I know I'm cutting it close here. I somebody talked me into Foundry, Gamer Dad. So I've had that for a while,
Guilty.
and I am getting two things ready in there, two worlds ready. I am doing Das Schwarz Aug, which is the Dark Age German role playing game, Living World, which the game has been around for I think around 20 years. People who play it actually are impacting the world around them. So they publish an update every few months, a newsletter. I think it's every other month with what has changed in the world and in your region. And so your adventures have to constantly grow and change with that. And then Wrath and Glory, good old Wrath and Glory, getting that world ready for running that session. So really excited for that. That's a little more difficult to set up in Foundry. And hey, I set up an air compressor that's been sitting here for a year and a half,
It,
maybe
you,
2 years.
you left me in suspense to just tell me you set up an air compressor. What have you been trying to
Okay.
paint?
Well, I
What'd you
have
prime?
forget the boxes. Those
Yeah.
boxes behind me, the Space Wolf kill team, never going to happen. I know that. Space Wolf, I'm sorry, Space Hulk, Space Wolf, Space Hulk, probably, but I am doing my NIDS. I'm finally getting back to, I've got to do NIDS. I really have to do all those Tyranids.
Yes, you do. They're fantastic.
Yes, they are. They are. So that's what I've been doing. A lot of video games, some D&D, and setting up some hardware along with, COVID. How about you, Gamer Dad? What have you been doing?
So the big stuff for me, made some minor improvements to stream content. First and foremost, this little thing on the microphone. I finally got a windscreen for this microphone, so hopefully the S's, the P's, all those sound a little bit better. Made some tweaks on the Go XLR and have been learning a lot about the routing system there, so it's great. Um, this week I figured out how to listen to things like the baby. So we have the baby monitor on a Google camera, and I get to listen to it, and nobody can hear it but me. So right now, that's one of the things in my ear, other than you, is the monitor, just in case the baby wakes up. So just a little bit of minor tweaking of the tech side, a little bit of cleaning, um, because if you've ever seen someone's real desk of their hobby space of a creative streamer, there's a reason why we have a very, very small little space that we show on camera because everything around it is covered in just junk. So,
I feel attacked. I
no,
mean,
yeah, no, that's why for anybody watching the playback on video, that's why I'm blurred because if I turned off the blur background, you'd see my desk is just it's a mess. It's covered. Um, So just some minor stream tweaking. I've done a little bit of gaming, not a ton. I've been keeping up with some game current events. So Idle Champions you mentioned, that was the big one for me because it is in fact meant to be idle. It's fantastic that way. It's a little D&D, different classes, different champions. You get 12 different slots. Um and as you fight through different levels, you generate gold and then you unlock each of the slots. And those slots have different characters in them as you unlock more characters. There's an I think she's a new one. I just the DLC was out on sale this past week, and it had the context of appearing to be new. So there's a new cleric. I think she's a cleric because one of her little special abilities is every time a monster gets killed, she heals the most damaged adjacent champion by a certain amount.
Mm.
And she's got a spiritual weapon, and she's got this cool little debuff thing. Every once in a while, when you set off her ultimate power, she sets off a little AOE explosion of her spiritual weapon, debuffing the enemies affected for a good amount of time, and then buffing the whole party. So it's like it's a double swing. You lower them, you buff your team, and you go to town. So, um, yeah, I've just been leaving that running in the background. I finally made it past level 300 because it's just a rinse and repeat. You have to kill 25 monsters, collect 25 items, stuff like that, and you just keep advancing. So I've been going through the different events. You can play it truly free. You can do the whole thing without spending a dime, and it's been fun. I've supported them a little bit by buying some familiars to help with the auto clicks. I did buy the new champ just to support stuff like that. So that has been the most amount of playtime according to Steam because it sits in the background. But what I'm most excited for and what I'm likely going to do when we finish recording is I'm going to switch over to Icarus
Ooh.
because um, they claim, I think this is kind of some of your this I think this was some of your sarcasm. Um, they have delivered to us the DLC that we've all been wanting, so they claim. But they've been doing a lot of tweaks. They've been finally the game feels a lot more like it's a new release instead of a beta or early access game now. They've made significant optimizations to the playability of the game. Visuals have been greatly improved, so where you're not crushing your graphics card. So they unlocked a new part of the map that I want to try out, and they've also added world bosses and everything. So I'll probably dig into that a little bit tonight. Finally, now that I've been patching it as it comes out, so a lot of new stuff to try there that I'm excited for. Haven't been doing much other gaming, uh, but I've been wanting to. Just work's been busy. Uh, the kids all had colds. The wife had a cold and a sinus infection, which triggered asthmatic bronchitis. So yeah, she got hit hard. No voice for several days. Um, Asthma attacks constantly. Just was it taxed her, which meant I was super busy with the kids, which was fine. Happy to do it, but man, it takes it all out of you. So, but that's all in the rearview mirror. Um, Trying to just pick back up hobbying. I did do a little bit of work on some bases, um, experimenting with some airbrush techniques. So I've got some nice little fades and shines in some of my base work, and started working on a gigantic tank. If anybody's into the 40K universe, I finally put some paint on a Baneblade chassis that is magnetized for all 8 variations. Um, Magnetizing is not fun for this thing. It was a lot of effort, but I'm excited to see it come to life. We're at that point where you go from seeing something built to actually seeing it take shape, right? You would think that a built model would have a shape, but not when it's just that flat gray plastic. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a very interesting kind of burnt orange shade. So not your traditional Baneblade look, which would really get a lot of attention. Do some weathering and chipping and everything like that. But you mentioned NIDS, and that reminded me. I bought a Start Collecting box. Or was it the Combat Patrol? I bought the new box.
Hmm.
I've always been a NIDS fan, and my thought was, I'll get the box, I'll paint it up, and I'll eBay it as a starter army. So that's going to be a starter army experiment because they seem to be finding some success on the competitive circuit. Maybe not top tier, but they have been very competitive armies. And the starter box that I've got had a lot of those models in it. So we'll see. One of those ways to really try and untap some or tap into some revenue streams for content creation. So
It is, and I'm glad to hear that you're getting into nids. They're such a simple group to play. There are no politics. I mean, they just want to eat. That's it.
everything.
It's very simple.
Well, to be fair, I've been into NIDS since pre-COVID. I just, so I'm just gonna try and paint these up super fast.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. At least it's not orcs, right?
Hey, 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 hey! Wait a minute. He says as he looks at all of his converted and customized orcs. I designed an entire baseline for Elric's hobbies specifically for my orcs, right?
Did you really?
Yeah, there's a baseline called Fractured Pavement, and in coordination with some of the Elric's team, we built the baseline. I mean, I did a whole bunch of streams of me actually designing some of the different size bases. So yeah, yeah. If anybody uses the Fractured Pavement bases, some of the sizes were designed by me. So I did like the 32s, the 40s, some of the really big ones. Yeah,
Mm,
I think we did about half
that's
and half.
fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. So orcs have my attention. They're not political either. They just
They're not,
they just
right?
want to
As long as they have teeth,
right,
they just want to keep going.
right. They just want to convert everything. They just want to make it all custom for them and rig it all up. Loot. They want to loot everything. So
You know, the one thing I love about the orcs are their vehicles.
oh yeah.
Just that, the orcs themselves, I'm like, okay, sure. Squiddies, all of them, but the vehicles that they come up with, or at least the models
Hmm.
that the company comes up with are just incredible. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. So that's been me. Those are my hobbies. That's kind of the recap of Gamer Dad over the last 2 weeks.
Well, you mentioned the Bane blade
Hmm.
and the magnetization of that. How did you do that? I saw you on stream and it looked like you had a paper clip.
In some cases, I did. Um, so a little trick I like doing with some magnets is you can use. I mean, paper clips are magnetic. They're not. Some of the other pins and stuff like that have don't have any kind of magnetic attraction, so the magnets won't pull on them. But the paper clips do. And you probably saw at one point I took a small pin vise and drilled a little hole, and then inserted a piece of the paper clip in there so that there was basically a small little metal post recessed into the plastic. And then I used a magnet on the other side for. There was one little gun barrel that was not sitting on there. Like everything else is push fit for their barrels, so you don't have to magnetize all of them. But this one was, and it's the only time this one piece gets used is on one variant that rarely gets used on a Bane blade, but it's part of the 8 variants. So, um, yep, I recessed some pins through paper clips. Boom. Um, there was a lot of I want to do a whole little run through of it one day, is just to record all of the different variants and talk about it because I learned a lot about magnetizing it. So much that the instructions I was given were very inaccurate. So there's a lot of gotchas.
No, that'll be interesting to hear that.
Yeah.
A great way to look at lessons learned.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We do that in IT every day, don't we?
Every day, almost every phone call, it feels
Oh my
like.
goodness. Yes. That's right. Unless you're talking about the phone call before the phone call.
Right. Right. Well, that was just a prep for the phone call.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of
And
prepping
then
for the
there's a
phone.
call before that
Yeah.
to make the deck. Don't
Right.
forget the deck.
Right. You've got the presentation build, then you've got to review the presentation with the pre-team, and then
Mhm.
you've got to do the pre-run of the meeting, and then you've got to do the meeting presentation, and then you have to do the follow-up meeting on the pres. It
Correct,
goes
because
on
of
and
the
on and
changes
on.
in the questions, and then somewhere you get to finally publish it to get feedback to set up another meeting with another PowerPoint to discuss that feedback,
Oh my god.
and the loop
Yeah.
continues.
And speaking of that loop continuing, I think we're kind of running through our intros here. Um, and normally, so on the audio podcast, so this part here will be cut out. We'll have a little bit of intermission kind of music to cut us over, and we'll cut on over to a sponsor readout if we have one tonight. We will, and then we'll get into our main topic. So since this part's going to be edited out for those in the live cast, if you guys have any feedback on the intro segment, this is kind of something we're trying out. If it's too long, if it's too short, if it's kind of off-putting from the topics, let us know what you're thinking, good and bad. We do have the podcast conversation channels in the Discord, which are all in the link tree. You can do !podcast in the live chat to get that channel and get all those links. So we would really love that feedback. And today's podcast is brought to you by GD Creative. It is the brand that's producing the podcast itself. And so that is something that my wife and I actually run. We do a couple of various things, including virtual assistant work, management, like event management, everything like that. But particularly Fiverr, getting you set up with your streaming, getting you live or configuring, troubleshooting, everything like that. So you get a good chance to grab an expert, get your streams either started or corrected and fixed. We've worked with a few people already just to tweak some audio or get an overlay working, everything like that. So make sure you check out GD Creative. You can find all that information on the link tree for the podcast.
So our topic for today goes back a little bit to what we discussed in episode 0, but we really wanted to get into the details and talk to you each about how we got into this, what made us get into streaming, and what has brought us to this point where we're here talking about it. So for mine, it was I want to say it was very simple, but it wasn't. This little thing happened called COVID in this world. And right before it happened, I was speaking to the wife, and as we're doing our budget, you know what? I haven't had a game computer in a long time. Can't get a PS5, not going to get an Xbox. I just want to build another computer. And we said, let's go for it. So I went to the store, bought some parts, started building it together, and my kids were all like, hey, you're going to be playing video games. You know what you should do? You should go and stream it. Why? My first question, why? What? It's just a video game. I did not do the Twitch thing other than watching some people paint. But they kept talking to me about it. And I started thinking about it. And people like Gamer Dad were saying, well, you do mini painting, allegedly. Maybe you should do some of that. So I started thinking about, all right, if I am going to start streaming, that is one way to do it. I can do some mini painting, I do some video games. I'm going to do it anyways. What harm is there to turn on the camera? I've got a PC that can go with it. And to the credit of my daughters, they made a good point of saying that this is a way for you to relax and yet something you might enjoy. So, but I am, if you don't know, I'm very big on analyzing a lot, probably over analyzing. And Gamer Dad's already got the smirk because he knows that. I am big on spreadsheets. Excel is my friend. Word is my friend. So before I do anything, I like to do a lot of research. And I did a lot of research. Oh, did I do research? I spent a couple of months of research in doing it online. What's the best time of day? where should I stream? Number one, should I do Twitch? Should I do Facebook Live? YouTube really wasn't in the picture, but Facebook was at that point. So a lot of research into that, the time of day, the types of games, what people are looking for from the miniature side, what's the lighting, what's the equipment. A lot of analytics went into that.
And you're breaking
And
my
I came
number
up
one
with
rule too.
what's that?
I said you're
I,
breaking my number one rule too.
I absolutely broke your number one rule many times. For many months, I broke that rule. But then at some point, honestly, Gamer Dad's rule kicked in, which was turn on the camera, get paint on the brush, right? Whatever you're going to do,
Just do it.
just do it.
Mhm.
And I did. I thought I was ready. I had the game picked out. I had a layout already. I had the software running. Hit that record button. No audio, of course. First thing I'm telling you, it's going to happen. It will. Got it up in about 5 minutes. Figured it out. All it took was unplugging a microphone, plugging it back in, resetting software. Little things. Nothing major when you're in front of a camera live and you don't know who's there. So it was a lot of getting that going. Spent about a month really tweaking things, and then I left it alone.
You're gonna spend about a year, and then another year, and a year after that tweaking things. The tweaking never stops.
Tweaking never stops. There's always something else. And that's I'm going to talk about things that I've learned. And man, did I learn a lot. And that lesson right there, you're always going to be tweaking. You should. If you're not tweaking, then you're not learning, then you're not growing. It's that easy. And we have to keep growing while we do it. So when I started, didn't spend money. I used equipment that I had. That was, and Gamer Dad made reference to this in the last episode. I used my cell phone. I did buy a microphone. I looked and I went online through the plethora of YouTube videos that are out there. And when I say plethora, if you go on YouTube and do a search for how to stream on Twitch, you will be inundated with here's what you need to do. You need to buy this. Here's this and that, and do this, and don't do this.
The crazy thing is, even though they have different details, every single video is the same.
Yeah, they are. So I, because I was overanalyzing things, I said, okay, which of these actually stream and what are the sizes of their audience and what is their growth pattern? Because there are websites that show you that. And I found a couple that stood out for me that met what I needed. And I started paying attention more to their videos. And they made sense. They were logical discussions and points that they were making. One of them was very straightforward. And this is why I said I didn't spend money. He said it, don't spend money. Use your cell phone if you have one. It's a fantastic camera. Buy a cheap USB microphone. Buy a cheap arm. You should be up and streaming with less than $100 spent. And it's true. And I did that. My goal was I'm going to do that until I hit affiliate, whenever that may be. And then I'll see about upgrading the camera. Uh, that that was faster than I expected, honestly, and I didn't have the money for it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to just wait a little bit longer until I hit and I set an arbitrary number of followers, and then I did upgrade to the camera finally. But it was really just taking my time. When I look at the lessons that I've learned on it, though, man, so much early on. And again, I've been doing this for only about a year. I am brand new to the scene. GamerDad is much more experienced, both on Twitch and some of the other areas than I am. I bounce a lot of ideas off him. Some of them stick, some of them he's like, you know what? Maybe you should look at this, or have you thought about this? Build up a community. That's important. And I'll talk about that. Actually, that I'm looking at what I want to talk about, and community is the first thing, community engagement. And there are two levels of that I focused on. One are my viewers, those of you who come into my channel and for some reason you talk to me. And I love that. I make sure that if you speak, I'm going to acknowledge you. I'm going to talk to you. I'm not just going to say, "Oh, hi, Gamer Dad and C," and then go back to my game. It is about engaging the people that come in there. That was a hard lesson that that's very, very critical. And it's very easy though, because it's just have a conversation with whoever's in there. And the more people that are in there, they're going to join the conversation. It's going to be natural. Don't focus on a video game or on your miniature painting. Gamer Dad will tell you as he's painting, he'll be looking down, he will be looking up, and he'll look at chat, he'll comment, he'll look down, he'll do some painting, he'll look up. Having that interaction, very, very important to have that. Um, and there are, I think I said two. I just realized there's probably a third place that you want to build that up. So you interact directly with your viewers that are there. You also want to build up a community online. So that's obviously Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, right? All the social medias. I still struggle with that because that takes time. And there are services out there. I think we heard that in our ad a few minutes ago that can help you with that. But it's really important to find one or two and focus on that and grow that way. Twitter, Reddit, fantastic. When I started, I went to the subreddit and I just go there. It's the Twitch startup, I think. It's a lot of new people there. A lot of new people. Some are good. Some are just, hey, follow me. I've seen some, hey, my son is getting into it. He's really, really good. Just spent $3,000. Literal post. I just spent $3,000 because he's going to make this back. You need to go and watch him.
And
You'll see posts like that.
if I could jump in real quick,
Yeah.
um, when it comes to those startup channels, the one trap that everybody needs to be careful of, starting new communities, networking, getting to know other people, it's all well and good, perfectly legitimate and safe. But you really want to make sure who you're getting to know and why. One of the things that I've seen popping up a lot are Discords, subreddits, Facebook
Mhm.
pages, follow for follow. It's a trap, it's a bait, it's not legitimate viewership. The thing that really makes a successful streamer, yes, you define your own success. I am a huge, huge, huge advocate of that. But some of the driving factors that help you generate a revenue stream or build upon your analytics to get you more views through Twitch, so on and so forth, it's those clicks, it's the viewership, it's not the number of follows. You can have 10,000 followers and average 5 viewers per stream. Twitch won't deal with you one bit. Sponsors won't deal with you one bit, anything like that. So you really want to be careful when you go to those places. They are very, very helpful. They've got a lot of information, but hey, I'm new. Give me a follow and I'll follow you back. Move on from those posts. You got to be very careful.
Yes. And that I learned very quickly. If you see follow to follow, F to F, don't bother. Skip, look at somebody else. I also went onto the Twitch subreddit itself and I started answering questions because I knew a little bit. And those that I felt that I could answer, I would answer and I would comment. To this day, and this has now been over a year, there is people that I follow still on Twitch. I go and I speak to them when they're streaming. They come on my channel. I have made friends that started on Reddit, which again, it's Reddit. It's a dumping ground, and you really have to weed through a lot of chaff, I guess is the best way to put it, to find the actual kernels of goodness in there. But it works. It does work. Also, find the game that you want to play and build on that community. So I started with Stardew Valley. And I did Stardew Valley for many months. And to this day, I love Stardew Valley. If it wasn't for No Man's Sky, I would be back in Stardew Valley. And you heard when was talking about the games I played, one of them I compare to Stardew Valley. That is that's just what I love doing. Very relaxing. And the community is incredible. Played that, focused, built the community, rated other streamers. Always rate other people when you're done with your stream. Lesson learned. Don't just end stream. Say, all right, everyone, I'll see you tomorrow. End stream. Don't do that. You want to build a network around you. Go to streamers that are a little larger than your size and the number of people that are watching and the number of followers. Followers not that important. People watching are what you want to do. You want it larger than you because you want to be able to go in there. They're going to see what you were streaming, have a conversation. Don't just raid and bail. You want to talk to them. Talk to them about the game. Do not talk about, oh, yeah, well, I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 until midnight. Don't do that. Be
Uh,
part of the community.
And that's one of the things
Very important.
that I'm gonna probably harp on a little bit when I get to my little segment on scheduling and networking and self promotion. Yeah, definitely a lot of some harsh truths in there. But one of the things that you said really kind of resonated well when when you raid. Um, if you stream at night and you got to go to bed at 1, don't stream to 1, right? Because you're gonna drop into someone else's stream, you're gonna end stream, whatever. You're gonna get out of here. Nobody will keep up with you. If you got to go to work in the morning, right, and you have a morning stream like a coffee stream, and then you're gonna get up and go to work, don't wait until you have to leave for work to end stream. That's part of your schedule. Definitely part of your schedule. And Garrus, one of the other things you mentioned, how you raid and how you build your network. One of the things that I actually applaud you for doing. Um, so Garrus and I are streaming at a lot of the same times. I'm normally on when he is wrapping up, unless he runs late, and it is extremely rare, very rare, for one of my closest streaming friends to raid me. And I applaud Garrus for this. This is not a criticism because I'm painting something completely unrelated to anything he was doing. Um, so what is the engagement you're providing your community if you bring them over to some content that it's likely the standard viewers um, aren't going to be interested in? And I'm not trying to be negative about my content. He's playing No Man's Sky. He's playing Stardew Valley. Who knows what you can't assume a No Man's Sky player or a Stardew Valley player knows what Warhammer is. They don't know what I'm painting. So they're going to be dropped in the stream and they're going to feel forced upon me as opposed to that natural engagement that a raid should be able to introduce. Now, there's been times where there's a special event, and you're like, well, I know this is not normally something we go look at, and we're gonna go on over and see so and so tonight because they're doing a charity stream for something that's very important. So let's go give them a follow and go show them some love and show some support if you can. That's totally natural. But forcing upon a raid just because somebody's your friend, be very careful with that. Because if they're your friend, they're going to understand why.
They are. And that I have rules that I've set upon myself. You know this, Gamer Dad. I do
Mhm.
this for everything, right? But I have rules for who I raid. And it's not just who, but what the criteria is have I rated them this week? How long have they been on? What are they playing? What is my audience like? And are they going to match that audience for what they're playing?
Is it a
For those
macro
who
in a
haven't watched,
spreadsheet that qualifies
yeah,
on whether or not they can be rated?
it actually, I actually have my bot set up with that so that I don't have to do that. There's a command and it has the list of raters and criteria. I'll have to show it to you. StreamerBot is incredible with what it can do.
That's
Um,
great.
but what I do is I'm a very family friendly streamer. There is no bad language on my stream. I play very relaxing games. I'm not going to do any um, first person shooters. Well, I say that, but I do play Warframe. I try not to do any kind of violent games. Uh, I do relaxing games. That's me. So I'm not going to go and send somebody over to a first person shooter. If they're playing Call of Duty, I'm not going to go and do a raid on there if my audience has been watching me play Stardew Valley. What I'll have the bot do is go and look and see who is on from my list right now that is playing something similar. And it's looking at the Twitch categories that are there to say, hey, these are the viable options that you can raid. Here's how long they've been on. And again, it's based on who I follow. If I don't see anyone, then I'm going to go and look at the same game that I'm playing in Twitch, find somebody again a little bit larger than I am. And then instead of just doing the blind raid, I'm actually going to listen to them for a few seconds. And the reason for that is there's a couple of things, and you don't want to do this on Twitch, a couple of things that are going to turn people off if they're going into your channel. One, if your chat is followers only. So if you're not following them, you can't type in chat. I'm not going to raid you because then I can't interact unless I follow you. So you're forcing me to give you a follow to raise your numbers, but I really don't know anything about you. And you're forcing the friends that I'm bringing with me to do the exact same thing. So you're limiting the interaction with you. Don't do that. Please don't do that. And the same goes with subscriber only, sub chat only. Don't do that. Open it up to everyone in the community. Unless you're doing a special event where it is for subscribers and you're large enough to do that, you're really limiting what people will do when they come in there.
Yep.
So I learned that very early on. I did a raid to someone who they looked good. I hadn't, it was one of my first raids. I hadn't really checked. They had followers only. And I was like, I'm sorry that I even raided to have to do that.
So a little backstory for you, Garrus. There have been significant security improvements on the Twitch platform, including the ability to um, get an IP ban, right? Because people just create new accounts when their account gets banned. But back in the day, right, talking about 5 years of streaming, um, not everybody knew how to handle um, non-validated Twitch accounts. And what I mean is, you created an account 30 seconds ago. You come in the chat, you harass, you get banned, you create a new account over and over and over. So the followers only chat was a safeguard people put. And then once they kind of had a safeguard in place, you see it in IT happen all the time. People just get comfortable with a feature in place and never pay attention on if it ever improves, changes, or needs to be adjusted. Follower only chat is one of those things that needs to be adjusted. There's plenty of other ways to safeguard your channel now that's been updated over the last few years. So, if you're one of those viewers who has your own stream and you think that follower only chat is the only way to keep yourself safe, go back, check out the links from the sponsored ad in the podcast, and get in touch, because there are many other ways you can secure your account much better than protecting yourself with follower only.
Absolutely. Bots and settings within Twitch that you can do for that. Very important. The final two things that I've learned is security. I just mentioned bots. You're going to run one bot, maybe two bots on your channel. There are thousands, hundreds of bots, I should say, that are out there that are not to help you. Whether it's, and they've done a good job of reducing hate raid, I think. I haven't seen that. I've never been subjected because I think my bots will make sure it never happens. But you need to make sure that your channel and those who are there to talk with you and watch you play and interact with you, you're there to protect them. Think of them as they've come into your house, you're hosting them, you're entertaining them, you're responsible for making sure that they're safe as much as you can. And that means from each other. If somebody's being toxic in chat and you don't have a mod or your mods aren't there, you can time them out, whisper a message over to them, tell them it's not accepted, or just say it. You can do that as the host. Or if you feel it's bad enough, you do a ban. You need to protect those who come in. Very straightforward.
And that's where
The only
mods can
other
help
thing,
you as well.
a mod is very important. Find someone that you trust. And there are different levels of security and access that you can give a mod. And Gamer Dad, I'm sure this is one of the topics we'll talk about down the road, bots and how to set them up and what types of how to be safe
Hmm.
online as a streamer, especially with a family. Uh, but the only other tip that I follow, well, there's two tips. One, have a schedule. I have a calendar book right here that has my schedule of when I stream, what I'm going to stream. It's always with me, even when I'm not streaming and I'm going somewhere. I have that book with me. Very important. Know what you're going to what you're going to stream and schedule. Have your stream actually planned out. So on mine, my first 5 to 10 minutes is I'm talking. I'm not playing the game. News of the day, talking to people who are on there, making sure that they know that I'm here for them, right? Very, very important to have that interaction. We'll get to the game later. You're going to be streaming for a couple of hours. The game will wait. Talk to the people that are there. Very, very important to do that. I keep saying very important over and over because it is. You're there to talk and interact with people. Let's do that. And then the only other thing that I do that people don't realize how critical it is, review your VODs, your video on demands. After you're done, doesn't have to be right after that. Come in the next day, turn on that video that was recorded on Twitch, watch it. Fast forward, listen to your audio, see how you're interacting. Are you looking at the camera? Are you just looking down all the time? Are people talking and you're not talking? Are you yelling in the mic? Those are things you won't realize unless you watch that video. Always do that. You're going to grow and you're going to learn that way. So that's me, Gamer Dad. That's what started me. That's what I've learned. What about you?
Yeah. So, I've been around, not necessarily as far back as the Justin TV days, which was what Twitch acquired them and brought a lot of it together. So I was there still when you had some of the older Justin TV accounts. I think it was called Justin TV. Can't remember for sure, but um, a lot going on back then, pre Amazon, um, and um, so I just got on as something that was a convenience for me, right? I was a new dad who needed some way to stay up late at night, and so I didn't have the same kind of perception of Twitch as a lot of new viewers do today, right? Online content creation is huge, it's widespread, it's well known. 5 years ago, it wasn't. It was a couple people make a lot of money. YouTube was the popular thing back then where people made lots of YouTube videos, but live streaming was not nearly as prevalent back then. So I just got on and used it as a way for me to connect with friends because it was too late for me to go out at night and hang out with my friends. So I brought my friends to me. Um, I played video games at night. I was big into League of Legends. I don't think there was any other games. I was pretty hardcore League of Legends 5 years ago and just hung out. So I picked this up along the way, just figured out lighting, figured out microphone, figured out audio. I think I used a headset for a while and then I used a snowball microphone, but I used one of the old really bad ones. I learned so many things along the way. My biggest lesson though was spending money. I spent too much money. I impulse shopped on something. Ooh, I need a new camera. Ooh, I need a new microphone. I just went and got one. And here I am on my fifth microphone, fourth microphone, something like that. I'm on my
It's easy, right?
Yeah, I'm on my
It's
third
almost like
mixer.
peer pressure.
Sure. Well, so I never fell for that. I was very, very lucky. I never felt for that because I never looked at this as a business for a while. I never looked at this as a revenue stream for a while. I just looked at things that made me comfortable, made me enjoy what I was doing. Does it make sense for me to use a Rode mic? Do I need a Go XLR mixer? No. Am I having fun with some of the cool little things I can do with it? Absolutely. Makes me happy. It was a good deal at the time. So we have what we have. Um, I still have a couple of pieces of equipment that I have some buyer's remorse for. But that's the thing. You got to pay attention. You got to spend a little bit more time than I did initially getting in, looking into it. But not so much to where you break the golden rule. Uh, to put it bluntly, shut up and stream. Right. Every time somebody comes in the chat, oh, I'm thinking about getting into streaming. Why don't you? What's stopping you? Let's let's unpack that and figure out how do we get you to that. How do we hit the go live button? Where where do you want to stream? Are you talking about making YouTube videos? Is this something that are you talking about doing it for your kids? Is what is your intention? And let's make that a reality. But going back to what you were saying, Garrus, let's not break the wallet, right? I bought my kid a $3,000 computer and he's gonna be the next ninja. No, he's not. There's one, and I say this all the time. There's one ninja. There's one, insert the name of a Twitch partner here or some other famous content creator. There's only one of each of them. If you start streaming thinking you will be the next them, you've already lost. You've already failed. Because this is not an easy gig. It's not an easy hobby. And it can be a fun hobby. It can be a fun gig. I've promised myself I'm never going to stream again if I drag myself up to my computer and feel like I got to go to work, or if I feel like I'm doing this because I have to. I've been doing this for nearly 5 years because I want to. I enjoy it, and Garrus, you said yourself, your video games was your form of relaxation. A busy day with work, and as a family man myself, I can say this comfortably with hopes that I don't offend anybody. Streaming, gaming, that's a release from my real job. That's a release from my real life. And in some cases, I'm going to be very careful with this, it's a release from even my family. I'm not saying I don't want to be around my kids and I don't want to be around my wife, but sit next to the same person every day and all you do is sit with them. Where's your variety? And I'm not condoning, this isn't like a relationship kind of advice thing. This is a hobby thing. You don't eat the same food every single day for dinner. You don't eat the same dessert every single, well, some people do, but you don't traditionally have the same meals every single morning, noon, and night. Mix it up. Watch TV with your family one night. Go to a sporting event. Go to a concert. Go to a movie. Go play video games yourself. Go outside. They do all sort. It's just a piece of variety to help you get away from life, and that's what this became for me. And that's what I started as. Now, unfortunately, I fell into the same pit that you fell into, Garrus. Um, Mine wasn't streaming too late at night and too long. I would go every night that my daughter went to bed and my wife would go lay down. I'd go stream 7 nights a week. I started streaming. And when I tell you, my whole idea of you don't eat the same meal for dinner every night, you don't stream every night. You don't. It's not your marriage, your relationship, your job will not appreciate that. Let me tell you. It's it puts a lot of tension, right? That's really where I'm going. There's a lot of tension that builds from overdoing it. And your point of $100, don't spend more than $100. That that's financial tension that you're preventing. Don't do it for 6, 7, 8 hours every day. That's physical health that you're protecting. These are all sorts of things that I didn't have somebody to talk about with when I got into it. I had to fail at all of these things, and I wasn't the first streamer, but I didn't have the network. I didn't know the people. I didn't come into Twitch and watch other people and think I want to do that because I didn't really know much about it. heard from somebody I was gaming with about it, and I figured I would just give it a shot, right? So the easy thing here is you just do it. Um, but be careful, be smart about it, um, because you're gonna have to solve a couple of key things, and you can decide it in a day, you can decide it in a year, you can decide it in 6 months, however long you want to take. The main thing you've got to figure out is when. When do you want to do it? How often? Figure out that sort of thing because it's just like watching television, right? You get syndicated TV. I can't tell you the number of times I see the same episodes of Big Bang Theory on like TBS, right? Every day. I can go watch any day of the week. I know that I'll likely find an episode of Big Bang Theory. So guess how much Big Bang Theory I watch? None. Because it's there. It's convenient. It's always available. So the stuff that's in less supply, I'm going to go catch when it's available. And I'm always just going to fall back on those reliable TV shows when the other stuff that's in high demand but not as readily available comes on. So your schedule will make or break you as far as letting your community know when to find you. You don't want to do it too much, but you also don't want to be too infrequent. That's where I am right now. I'm returning after uh, my son was born. I got very, very sparse in my streaming. My schedule went from too much to hardly at all. But you know what? Worthy sacrifice. Something we'll talk about in the future, Garrus, I'm sure. Real life challenges, how to balance that. But you got to be available. So I think a good healthy balance, roughly 3 or 4 days a week. There are some people who go a little bit more, and there's some people who do it a lot less. I think you're less likely to find success if you're doing it so infrequently that you're doing it once or twice a week, once or twice a month, stuff like that. If you're going 4 or 5 days a week, I think you're kind of tapering off on the availability kind of metric there, but not so much that it's really going to ruin things. I think it's still safe and fine if your real life balance is in check there or your work life balance is in check there. As long as all that's okay, I don't think. I mean, you're 5 or 6 days a week, aren't you, Garrus? You take Mondays off, I think.
I take Mondays off
Hmm.
because of all my research that I did, but I am 6 days a week. That is correct.
Hmm. Yeah. So I know I'm trying to draw a rule into do it 3 or 4 days, uh, but there are exceptions to every side. Some of the best success I've seen is having the regular, reliable schedule. Right? I know I can catch Garrus any night but Monday. I know what I can catch from Garrus. I'm using you as the example here because one of the lessons you learned very quickly is that transparency and that communication. Every single stream that closes down, I know exactly what's coming the next time. And every single stream that starts up, I know what I missed last time. Think of it like a sitcom, right? This is old man Garrus's Seinfeld episode, right? Last time, where we were on Seinfeld. Here's what's coming up next. Oh, it's almost like Dragon Ball Z, right? Next time on Dragon Ball Z or last time on Dragon Ball Z. That's it. It sounds silly, it sounds repetitive, but with the direction that content creation has evolved into, you are a sitcom. You are a form of entertainment with a regular schedule that a community can rely upon to know when they can find you and more importantly where, as well as what is going to be occurring. If you're starting your streams randomly and you're doing your streams with no planning of what content, I don't know what I'm gonna do today. I think I might try this game today. And you're starting your stream and nobody knows what they're doing there. How how can you how can you entice viewers to come in? Right? Where are you getting your clicks from? Now, yes, your regulars want to just come hang out with you, will still come and hang out with you. But if you really want to grow, if that's what you want out of your stream is to build a large community and to generate revenue, to build a following, you gotta tweak it a little bit. You gotta put some extra work into it. I know people that spend more time working offline than the number of hours they do online. Imagine that, Garrus. If you stream for 3 hours a night, 6 days a week, that's 18 hours of streaming. I know people who do double their stream time in work off camera. So, can you imagine doing nearly 40 hours a week in preparation for streams to produce nearly 20 hours of stream time?
Yes, actually, I can do that, or I can imagine that.
Yeah.
The prep is the important part. But you know what, Gamer Dad, I want to go back because you touched on something really important.
Yeah.
And then I think we didn't give it enough attention. And it's still about the schedule, but it's the communication with the family
Yes.
and the spouse, right? Coming up with a schedule, saying I'm going to stream 6 days a week. It's going to be 3 hours from 9 p.m. until midnight Eastern time. That's great. Anybody can come up with a schedule. Communicating with the family, though, with your partner, your spouse, your children, to make sure that that time and those days actually work. If you don't do that, you're going to have you're streaming, someone's going to walk in the door, someone's going to be calling you, texting you. They need something. You haven't communicated. You're going to
Yep.
get frustrated. Your audience is going to get frustrated. The person who needs you is going to get frustrated.
Yeah. And that's a lot more pressure than you really need to deal with. And most of the streamers, I happen to gravitate towards streamers that have families. It's not intentional, just happens to be where I've landed. There's one streamer that I watch. Part of his routine, his son comes to say goodnight to him every night, and some people don't like that. Okay, don't watch. Uh, but it shows me that there's good communication within the family. It shows me that there's coordination with the schedule and the family life. One of the very important things that I notice in these kinds of interactions, and there's many streamers who I see have their children or their partners sometimes come onto the camera. They don't they don't linger too long, but they don't sneak in either. So there's a good healthy respect of one. I love that the content creators don't just say you're not supposed to be here. Right? You're welcoming, you are breaking that wall, if you will, stream and um between stream and real life. You're breaking down that wall, but you're also setting good standards and limits with your family and friends that yes, you're part of this life, but also I've got a job to do at the same time. So, the reference I was making earlier of watching one streamer say goodnight to his son, every night that I'm in his channel, he comes on down to say goodnight for bedtime. I've seen sometimes where it's lingered on for too long, and then there's been that kind of polite push. All right, I've got to get back to it. Um, or in other cases, like my daughter does this with saying goodnight to family. She'll call and then she'll get ready to hang up and say goodnight. We're like, that was fast, you know? So watching that coordination, that speaks volumes, making sure that your family is involved. They don't have to put their face on camera. They don't have to come into chat. They don't have to be, I mean, let's be honest. Hypermom rarely ever interacts with my stream anymore. And that's okay. That's not done for any negative reason. She's got other things that she's doing. But she knows I'm up here. She understands kind of the quote unquote rules of engagement, those levels of respect. Um, but at the same time, I've I've walked out on stream halfway through because there was a family issue that required my attention. I've seen you walk out of the room to deal with stuff too. You've just got to be aware of your surroundings, and your schedule has to accommodate those surroundings. Don't be I hate this is probably going to be such a bad word to use. Don't be a slave to your real life engagements to control when you can stream, but make sure you negotiate that compromise between your real life and your stream life. Like it's so important because I know when a streamer's in trouble with his partner. You can see it on their face. I've seen people and I haven't chatted with any of these people in a long time, but I you could tell when someone walks in the room and and they're like, "Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second." And you could hear the annoyance in their voice. I'm out of here. You've completely lost my engagement. Not because you've put us on hold. That's fine. But because you're bothered by the fact that your real life has now engaged your stream life. You got to let those two balance. You can't push one away because the other will suffer just as much.
Well, I think that that kind of adds, and I think this is where you're going with it. When we're in front of the camera, we're not a persona. We're not an actor.
Right.
And I think you referenced it, we're like a sitcom, right?
Sure.
We start with here's what happened the last episode. We go into this episode, here's what's coming in the next episode. But we're not here reading a script and just saying, all right, well, these are the lines, this is how I have to act. We're normal humans,
Right.
most of us, some are Cylons. Um,
Here we go again.
but the interaction with my spouse, my wife, when she walks in, that's part of life.
Right.
And if I go, right, and I get that angry look and that tone in my voice when I speak to my wife, and then I come back, I'm like, oh, hey, right, that means that's fake.
Sure. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with a persona streamer, right? I mean, I watched a guy whose overlay was a treehouse. He wore a big squirrel tail and he was like some crazy squirrel character. He lived that character. That takes some different doing. I don't have a problem if somebody wants to put on a persona on stream, but the rules I think still apply. The coordination with your close family or friends, even if that means, look, I'm going to be in character. I can't break character, stuff like that. Um, it's coordinating. It's the respect for your family and your friends and your viewers. All of those together really build into the right kind of engagement, and you can do that as playing as a different character, and you can do that as playing as yourself. Takes a little bit of different effort, but they're both possible.
I agree. Absolutely agree.
Speaking of that family balance, when we do the audio editing, we'll clip this part out. But speaking of that family friendly balance, the hypermom just stopped by and is stealing the dog away.
If it wasn't blurry, we could say, hi, hypermom.
So let's I think we've gone on a little while with our main topic. Let's kind of bring this back and sum it up and maybe in the final edits, this could probably be one of those little clip openings potentially. I don't know. We'll have to check with our editor if this is going to be good enough. But when you're streaming, when you're getting into streaming, you really want to make sure you're not overdoing it financially. Now, we both recommend $100, but you can do more if you're in a position where you've got a bigger budget than that and you're willing to spend it. Just be aware when you first get into streaming, just like if you get into a business or a job or anything, you're not going to be met with success day one. It's not going to be you're not going to be making millions of dollars day one. You got to start simple. You got to start easy, and you've got to plan for some consistency, but know that every day you're going to learn something. Every day you're going to tweak something. And as long as you're building upon your content, as long as you're learning from your mistakes and you're keeping your family and your friends in that close coordination along with your community, you'll be met with some sort of success. I can't promise financial success. I can't promise partnership, sponsorship, affiliation, but you will have a successful stream because you'll have people coming to your stream, enjoying your content, interacting with you every single time. And what I like to measure my success on is somebody leaving your channel having learned something new.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the learning something new doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a life lesson or a painting lesson. It could just be a fact by you interacting, the
Mhm.
conversation, the chat that's happening, or something in a video game.
Yes.
Don't feel like we're saying, oh, so we have to make it an educational stream where we're giving out, random internet facts and hopefully somebody remembers it. No, not at all. People are going to learn with what you're doing and what you're talking about and what chat is talking about. Be part of that, encourage that, and be yourself.
It's even learning something tangible about the person you're watching. You know what I mean? Like, if you've ever watched any Stardew Valley stream with Garrus, you'd know that his slight obsession
Oh, don't do it. Don't you do that. You
with
leave her out of this.
one of the characters, um, but you always engage or get engaged by or engage with your community. I think is the best way to put it. That's how you learn something. When I'm teaching something, it might be some color coordination. My most recent stream, somebody learned about a color wheel. I didn't go into depth on how to use it, but somebody got a little bit of a background on how I selected some colors with the color wheel. Wasn't my intent, but they learned something. Um, Somebody else learned just how much paint a Bane blade takes to prime and how long it takes to airbrush prime an entire magnetized Bane blade. I mean, just general things. We know what kinds of characters Garrus likes and doesn't like in No Man's Sky. If you watch me play Icarus, my you're gonna learn that I really like ranged weaponry as opposed to the close melee stuff. I mean, that's really it. We're not talking about teaching people every single time, although I pride myself in being a teaching streamer. It's just leave an open you want to have an open kind of interaction with your viewership so that they feel welcome and that in some ways you kind of touch their lives in some way, shape, or form, even if you provide them with entertainment for 30 seconds before they have to go run off and take care of the baby or something like that. Anything. That's it. Is define for your stream what you want to do. I want to teach people with an educational kind of concept with my hobby. Garrus loves going over the concepts of games. I don't mean to speak for you. I don't know if you have any other different ideas, but when you're playing games, I really enjoy watching that you want to explain what's happening in the game so somebody has some concept of understanding. You're not necessarily giving spoilers, but you're going to talk about what's going on, why there's pirates now in No Man's Sky, or what your outpost or your village is that you're building upon in No Man's Sky because somebody hasn't played it in over a year and didn't realize that you can now have these settlements, stuff like that. So there's always context. You teach through context. I like teaching through showing steps to do things. Other people like to teach because they're telling you how to build quickly and efficiently in Fortnite if that's still a thing, I don't know. So, lots of ways, but it's engaging. Either way, it's engaging.
It is. The other thing is, we also can learn. It's not just about, as a streamer, teaching someone who's paying attention and part of our audience, but we can also learn something from the people who are there talking to us and chatting with
Oh
us.
yeah.
That happens to me very frequently. I think Gamer Dad, you mentioned, from a No Man's Sky, I'm kind of I know a lot about it. And I pride myself in when I do a No Man's Sky, in my description, the words at the very beginning are always beginners welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Always. I will stop and start a brand new game to show somebody what the game is like. I love the game. I think everyone knows that. But there are times where, and this happened to me the other day, I was doing something the way that it I've always done it for over 5 years. And someone in chat's like, hey, you can just hit this letter on your keyboard and it'll help you. I was like, wait, what? Blew my mind. And no matter how good you are and how much of an expert, there's somebody out there who knows something that we don't know.
Right. Always.
And I think that goes to earlier I said, we have to keep growing. It's not just I stream, I'm going to play this game, I'm going to talk to the same people that I always talk. Maybe somebody will come in and then I'm going to end it. We have to keep growing and learning. The people who are there with us are going along that journey with us, right? That is very, very important. And that we remember that this really is, it's a journey that we're
Mm-hmm.
all on together. You're not by yourself. Even if you go and you stream and you're like, oh, nobody joined my chat, you're not by yourself. There are others there. They may be lurking. They may come in later, watch your VOD. They may join you later on based on a post you did on Twitter. You don't know what the impact is going to be down the road. It'll grow. Keep growing with it.
That's right. And and I think we'll explore and unpack a lot of that. I mean, I think each of the topics of how we got into streaming, I feel like you can take one idea and make it an entire episode and just unpack so much. And I think that's something that we're going to start doing as we build upon this. So, lots more to come. And Garrus, I know that I brought us in, and I kind of feel like we're running. I kind of feel like we're wrapping up here. So I know I brought us in, and maybe you want to take us out.
Absolutely. I will do that. First of all, I want to thank everyone who has come in during the live recording of the podcast. This podcast will be live a week from today. It'll be available on all platforms, whether you're on Google podcast player. I'm sorry, I don't know. Google, the iTunes one, um, Amazon, iHeart Music, Pandora, Spotify. Everyone's going to have this 1 week from today. That gives everyone or our editor a chance to go through, clean up the audio, make it look good. And then we'll post it again up on YouTube. I think we're going to post a video
Yep.
and the audio will be again available through your favorite podcast listening application. Our next stream that we'll be doing live is going to be on June 11th. So 2 weeks from today is when we will be live doing this again. Same start time, around 9 o'clock Eastern, is when we will be starting this. If you want to reach out to us and talk with us outside of the stream, the easiest way to find us is to go to our link tree that we have available, which is straightforward. Linktree/looking beyond the stream is the URL. There you'll find links not just for the podcast, but you'll find it for the Discords or Twitch channels, emails, Facebook, all of the normal social media methods of contacting us. It'll all be on that. Very easy. As always, you can also find us here on Twitch and on Facebook. GamerDad NC is GamerDad's name on Twitch. Old Man Garrus is my name on Twitch. Uh, if you are on Facebook, I do want to call out specifically, though, make sure that you add us on your watch list. Facebook's algorithm is a little bit different in how it notifies. So you do want to go to your watch list and add us on there so that you can see that and get notified when we come on there. That being said, Gamer Dad, anything before I wrap us up?
No, I think I'm good. Well, you mentioned the Discord. If you have any input on any topics, any feedback from a previous cast you've listened to, we invite you use that link tree, come into the Discord, and go down to the podcast area. Um, at the time of this recording, it's not set up, but in the very near future, there's going to be a role that you can assign to yourself in Discord called podcast. And if you want any alerts, any notifications on the Discord of what's going on, you can grab that and get those, get that information. So jump into the Discord. Tell us what you thought of the show. Tell us what you would like to see from the show, whether it's topics, whether it's the format. Let us know, and we'll be happy to make that adjustment. Geras, what do we think we're going to be? What's our next topic? Do we have one picked yet?
So I think our next one that we were looking at was about staying motivated in both streaming and how that ties in with your motivation to, it being impacted by work and family.
Yeah, yeah. So that real life, work life, family life balance, I think, will be a really good one. I know a lot of streamers tend to fail at that, which puts a lot of anxiety and stress on the stream content or on the family, one way or the other. So I think that'll be really good to help unpack.
Agreed. Agreed. All right. Well, that being said, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today during our live recording. Again, 1 week from today, the podcast will be available on whichever method you listen to your podcasts. Uh, that being said, we'll be seeing you beyond the stream. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.